Blog Talk Radio.
Warning, the following program may include profane language, controversial viewpoints, and perspectives on the true nature of reality so far removed from the status quo, they'll make your head spin like a top. Young children, corporate executives, and religious fundamentalists should turn away now. Bonjour, planet Earth. Welcome to Extraordinary Year. I'm Tim Bravo. Thanks for joining us tonight. T-minus 72 days until December 21st, 2012. Just joining me is co-host Canada. What's up, buddy?
Oh, not much. Just leaving communications, theories, and history. Getting out of class. I'm all home.
Are you hearing me okay tonight?
Yeah, I hear you great, besides that technical issue we just had.
Okay, cool. So anyway, I would like to start tonight by heaping some long-deserved public gratitude on a handful of listeners out there. For people who don't know what I'm talking about, recently we came up to a situation where we weren't going to be able to stay on the air, at least not in the form that we were, because I ran out of money in my fund to fund Extraordinary Year. And so I put up a request for donations from listeners, and in 4 hours we had this show funded through the end of the year, because very generous people out there who basically, opened up their wallets and it didn't take much, and we were at our goal, 4 hours. And so, when we needed it, these people came through, and they know who they are. I don't know that it's probably a good idea to, say their names on the air, but they know who they are, and I thank them. And all you guys listening should be thankful to these people, because they helped the show out when it needed it. So I wanted to start tonight's show by giving a great big thank you to those guys publicly, and gals, I should say.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. I mean, just the fact that it was only 4 hours was just amazing and mind blowing. We more than covered it, actually. I had to tell people to stop donating. I'm serious, because we had enough. It's like, I'm not trying to be greedy here. I just want to get this show, across the finish line. And
sure,
we got there lickety split. And before we get into all the stuff that I want to talk about tonight, I want to let people know that next week we're going to have a panel discussion with members from the Inlight Radio crew. And light workers out there, I'm sure, will be more than familiar with the Inlight Radio guys, because it's one blog talk channel with several shows and several hosts. And next week we will have Jeff West, most likely Jeff West. Christina Mahler will join us from Zurich, and Steve Becca will rejoin the show from Canada. So we'll have another wonderful international show next week. So, Canada, what's up with you in life before we get into the heavy stuff? Everything good with you, man?
In life?
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost my wallet this weekend.
Whoa.
Yeah, Friday night, we were getting ready, Catherine, was it Friday? Well, regardless, we were running errands, and in between one block, in between my house and the last place we went, I lost my wallet. But I haven't been letting it get me down. I just canceled my cards, reordered them, going to the DMV tomorrow, get my license, because I figure it could have been a lot worse. I could have lost my $500 phone like Matt. That happened a couple weeks ago. But
I don't think I heard that.
Yeah, he got stolen from a bar. People were inconsiderate, and you know how that story goes. But life's been it's been weird. Definitely something that's been weird is I've been noticing myself, and especially others as well. Especially after I bring it forward, others have been noticing deja vus have been increasing lately.
Oh yeah,
a lot. I mean, I kind of had a slow point this past week or two, but just the past while, I've been having a lot of senses of deja vu, senses of being. I've been here before. I've seen this before. I've interacted with you guys in this same situation before, which is really crazy. And then I've had other friends, come up to me or right after that being like, it's weird because I've had this conversation with you before. Yeah, so I mean, aside from that,
deja vu, that's like That's like exponential deja vu or something there.
Sure. We define it as meta deja vu. Deja vu over deja vu. But it's crazy stuff. But I'm still looking up in the sky, waiting to see my friend for the first time. But haven't had my chance yet.
Oh well, keep looking, man.
Yeah. And yourself?
That once you see one, you're opened up to it. And if you're open up to the possibility and you're honestly looking, I got to think eventually you're going to see something.
Sure.
I say that from someone who sees, multiple UFOs a year. So
well,
I got faith with it.
It's kind of like the concept of which Catherine brought up the other day. Say you find an interest in a car that you like and you want to do some research in. You're going to start noticing that car everywhere, whereas you might have not have thought about it before. So if you're actually engaging and trying to actively search for something, your chances of finding it are, in fact, much, much greater.
Well, and if you read The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot, you know that looking for something is one way to see it, definitely.
Yeah.
And how reality works in the holographic sense, it all makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to get into what I want to talk about tonight. David, Canada, David, that you've heard me talk about David Wilcock, probably about every show you've been on.
Yep. I wrote that report about him as well.
Did you tell me you wrote a report about Wilcock?
I believe it. Maybe I'm getting my names mixed up. Let's continue, and we'll bring that topic up later.
Okay. Well, Wilcock has reared his head again. He's come out of the woodwork with a new article. And in this article, he is basically saying that his dream guidance is telling him that he needs to stop fighting the Illuminati because it's giving them strength. He details this dream where he's at this, fantastic soiree, and, there's like an extended fight sequence where he's battling, Lucifer, in a tuxedo, the embodiment of the satanic Illuminati. And then, ultimately flashes to a scene where, there's just bones left, and, he's basically all but won and beat the Illuminati. And then, proceeds to start trying to smash the skeleton, and as he does, he's re-strengthening the skeleton. And somebody nearby explains to him, please stop, because you're only making it stronger. And so,
right.
And the reason I bring this up is because it just so nicely dovetails into things that I've been thinking and things that we've discussed just in this last week. Last week on our show, Canada, we had a channel for an entity by the name of Bashar, and this is actually a pretty well-known entity and channel, and we were honored to have him on. Just in the last week, the YouTube video version of last week's show has had thousands of hits. So, people are really interested in this stuff. And one of the things that Bashar, this entity, this extraterrestrial, that's one way to look at it, this being outside of our reality, who channels through Darryl Anka, what he says is that, I asked the question, what does he say about, what do we do about chemtrails? What do we do to get the Illuminati and the New World Order, to beat their agenda, to get beyond it, because, we're ready for it. What can we do? And basically the answer is, stop trying, stop giving them your fear, stop giving them your energy at all. And basically just, when you see them up to something, just kind of shake your head and make the conscious decision, well, you know what, that doesn't affect me. That's not what I want in my world. And if you continue to do that, then you move yourself into a reality where they don't have any power. And so that really dovetails into what David's dreams are telling him. And so I kind of wanted to bring that up, because I thought it was an interesting coincidence. And the coincidences don't really end there. I don't know. We talk about dreams quite a bit on this show. You had any crazy dreams lately, Canada?
I can't say that I have had any crazy dreams. Definitely Catherine would be the person to talk to about those.
Let me be more specific. Have you heard of anybody, and this goes to listeners out there too, has anybody had dreams of like parties, celebrations? Because that's one of the major themes in David's dream, and I know that this very morning, I woke up from a dream that was just basically an extended party. It was like a wedding reception without the wedding. It was just a big party. There was family and friends and people I didn't know, and it was just, an extended party. That was my dream. And so, any party dreams, celebration dreams?
No, I honestly can't say I have. I think I've been too tired lately with everything to have time to dream. But
well, you're having them, you just don't remember them.
Exactly. Yeah, I can also say I really haven't been retaining my dreams as much lately. I can't say why, but definitely I don't feel like I've been dreaming as much, or at least as in depth.
Well, what about you, area code 804? What about your dreams?
I just came onto the show. I don't know exactly what you're speaking about, but as far as the title of the show and the elites, they've already lost, and I'm on a whole spiritual path and actually working on bringing spirituality into global economics and combining it with unconditional love, making everything transparent, ethical, legal, moral, and forcing companies to be more responsible for their employees, their customers, the environment, and the community. When we get that transparency working and root out the corruption, following the money and bringing it to justice, we can create a whole new world.
Agreed. That sounds like something I could go for.
I definitely could.
How are you doing this?
Well, since the beginning, it's been all control, conquer, and divide, and we have to learn that we're all spiritual beings. That's what people aren't waking up to correctly yet. And when they understand that 100 years is like the blink of an eye in terms of eternity, and you're going to go back into spirit, and you can't take the toys with you, and that you're going to be accountable for every moment you spent here, then you'll begin to wonder, gee, yeah, maybe I did come here for a reason. And if I don't know it, maybe I should start getting in my heart aligned with the Creator and asking for divine guidance on a daily basis and finding my passion and also empowering my family. Take a child. I mean, I grew up when we sat around the dining room table and respected our elders and listened to what they had to say and had manners. Today, the kids just twitter back and forth and ignore the parent. What kind of world is that? Get that kid disciplined and have him learn what his passion and interests are. If you can start a home-based business, by the time that child is ready for college, the tuition may already be paid for instead of going into debt, or he may choose not to go to college because he's set in a career that you helped him find his passion for. What a beautiful legacy to leave instead of watching the ball games and enjoying the beer. Think about your kids and the generations to come.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I think at the same time it's less a distraction and more just a new way that they're communicating and connecting in real time. I speak from experience. I've got 3 kids, all on phones, all texting back and forth all the time. In fact, they text, I'd have to say, several thousand times a month each, and at the same time, they have very rich lives. They have very detailed social lives and are actually involved. And it's not all Jersey Shore for everybody who's using these modes of communication. And ultimately, I don't think we discipline people into stuff. That's like the government saying, well, we don't agree with the choices you're making, so we're going to force you to make the choices that we want. And I believe that in an evolved world like the one that you're describing with us, that, you know, if anybody does anything, it's going to be because that's what they choose to do, not because that's what they have to do.
Right. Well, that's how it should be.
So we have, I mean, yes, I think it's important that we guide their decisions and advise them the best we can, but ultimately every individual has the right to choose in every single pass. You know, as each moment comes upon them, they have the right to choose and re-choose. And so I think we can guide their choices, definitely, but when it comes to forcing them, they're only going to get there, just like we did, the hard way.
Well, it's part of growing up.
Are you active there in the Virginia area? Are you active in D.C. at all? Are you actually undertaking any sort of actions?
Well, I have through my whole life. I'm standing on my truth. I'll give my full name so you can see some things on the internet. It's Hugh, H-U-G-H. Last name is Traulsen, T like Tom, R-A-U-L-S-E-N like Nancy, and there's various things on the internet. There's a blog, creativity777.com, that has a letter from President Obama to me dated July 7th, 2009, related to the economy. On the same blog is a powerful poem titled Caring Sharing that's in the President Ronald Reagan Library. Also, when you Google my name, look for an article entitled America's New Transformational Economy. One of the items is a letter from the Carter administration to me, as well as another article entitled USA Unlimited Solutions Always, and a mission statement called Veterans Uniting America, ways that everyone every day, instead of just certain days, can remember our fallen heroes and do things in their memory to get this country back on track, even if it's only a prayer. A prayer is an action.
Amen. And to get the show back on track, I'm going to, because the reason I asked you, Hugh, about what you might be up to is because we were just discussing not giving the Illuminati agenda our energy, not giving the Illuminati agenda our fear, and in fact not fighting them. And so what's the alternative? And if the way I would answer that question is not to fight against something. And it's definitely important that we make people aware of what they're doing, but the more we focus on it and force other people to focus on it, the more we strengthen that same agenda. So instead of being against that, there's so much in our reality that is not talked about that we can fight for, that we can bring awareness to. And I'm kind of working through the Thrive structure, the Thrive movie. Are you aware of that, Hugh?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, but since you're touching on the Illuminati, I agree with what you're saying, and that's why I say we have to come to a whole new paradigm of unconditional love. They can't understand it, and it's a beautiful way for mankind's future. And I put the Illuminati on notice, not fighting them, but I let go and let God anything I can't handle, and I say that God has harmonics, and harmonics are sound waves. When they come, if you're in the right kind of heart-to-God alignment, you'll be perfectly fine. But if you're in an Illuminati, you can be sitting on your yacht over in the Mediterranean sipping a pina colada, and you may spontaneously combust or explode. The same thing if you're in an underground bunker somewhere, because God's harmonics will go where God wants them to go. Somebody said to me, "Aren't you afraid of retribution?" I said, "For what? I didn't do anything wrong. They did. If they have a hitman take me out, I'll eat the hitman's brains out from the spirit world. It'll be quite painful, and I'll be a little more gentle on him than the guy who hired him." I'm still here saying it a year later. So let go of the fear. That's what.
One of the ways
that all over you.
I suggest to listeners that they can actually get active in raising awareness and fighting for things through the Thrive structure. So I just wanted to remind people that that's a tool that we have available to us. And Hugh, I recommend you go check out the movie, take a watch, because you definitely sound like somebody who knows what he's talking about and has been thinking about these things for quite some time. I think you'll find personal satisfaction in watching the movie and seeing how good a job Foster Gamble has done at putting all the different pieces together, connecting all the dots and presenting them in presenting them in a way that most regular everyday Americans can digest. But anyway, I wanted to thank you for your call, buddy. Definitely good points on the Illuminati.
And related to economics, I do have something. My last name has global recognition in the food service field, and I'm just rolling out a fantastic, powerful new passive income strategy for restaurants that has no limit potential on the income that they can achieve through this opportunity.
Okay, is that something that they can find through your website?
There's a lot of stuff with my name, but if they put my name, Hugh Traulsen, HUGHTRAULSEN, and then put a .wordpress, WORDPRESS, and a .com after my name, when you get to that site, you'll look for where it says, here's a business strategy anyone can use, and this can be tweaked for any individual, any company, or nonprofit.
All right, so there you have it, guys. That is HughTraulsen.wordpress.com. So if you're interested in that opportunity, go check that out. On the line with us now is Mr. Hated Patriot.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up? I want you to know we got Canada back here.
All right, cool.
He enjoyed your last conversation, so this should be cool. So anyway, I was talking about Thrive. What'd you call in for, brother?
Well, you were talking about dreams earlier, right?
Yeah, do you have any...
I had a strange and very relevant dream a few weeks ago, and I'm sure a lot of it had to do with my subconscious more so than having a vision, but, you know, it's what our subject is, and it had to do with UFOs. It was very intense. So I was having this dream that I was out in the park at night with a friend, and this was a park in my hometown, and it was a clear night sky, and I'm looking up at the stars, and then all of a sudden I see one of these triangle-shaped lights moving in the sky, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, and this is in my dream. It's like, holy shit, let me get my camera. Finally, I can film one of these damn government UFOs, because when I see the three lights like that, I immediately presume that it's the TR-3B, the Black Ops project from Area 51.
Which we discussed last week, actually, with Darryl Anka.
Oh, that's cool. I sent you a message on, like, Facebook or something talking about industrial surrealism, which you should check out, and that'll explain a lot of things, and it'll be have you seen that?
No, well, I don't think I have, but I will check it out.
You need to check it out, because I'll tell you right now, what it boils down to is that the government's got their cloaking devices and their geoengineering, which is the reason why you can see them. If you ever look up in the clouds, you'll notice hard edges on the clouds, triangles, right angles, delta formations, the whole 9 yards. The ships are doing the chemtrails now. They're geoengineering, and that's the only reason why you can see them. Otherwise, they've got a perfect cloaking system, and they don't make any noise, and they're always up there.
Okay.
So that's something to check out. Industrial surrealism shows you how to look at them.
Okay.
Yeah, but my dream gets crazy. So I see the TR-3B coming at me. I'm trying to get my camera, and then I notice there's a bunch of other people in the park that can see it. The crazy thing is it comes in low and basically like decloaks its little cloaking device I just talked about, and it starts firing on the people. And I'm like, oh my God, they freaking started Project Bluebeam. They're faking their alien invasion. And I start running for it, and I start seeing hundreds of these ships in the sky, and they're all attacking the people. And I run for it. I somehow jump in my car. And then what happens is, as I'm running at it, I don't get away. I get caught. And basically, there's these people, like the Series V. They take off their skin, and they look like they have cobra heads underneath. You know, so that's my mind going to the reptilian thought.
My mom did that in a dream when I was like 8.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, V I think gave a lot of people nightmares. That was a great show. And so I got caught, and they immediately started treating me like I was subhuman. They basically, we all know the stories of what the Jews went through in the Nazi concentration camps, where they had all their possessions taken from them. That happened to me. You know, they forced me to empty out my pockets, to give them my wallet, my ID, any loose articles in those pockets, everything but like my bare clothes, and to get off and go somewhere. And then what happened was the strangest thing. My dream rebooted itself, and I found myself back in the field around this point. And then I look up in the sky, and everything starts over again. The invasion restarts, and this time I make the run for it. I don't get caught, but I end up getting blasted while I'm on the side of the road, and I actually die in the dream.
Huh.
After trying to make this intense run for it, and I'm sweating bullets and everything else, and then the dream resets again. Usually you wake up when you die in your dreams, or just before death. This time I reset, so it's like I had a in-dream reincarnation. And so I have at it another time. This time there's a lot more like fire, like literally the invasion happens again. It's a little bit different, but it's the same thing with like all sorts of ships coming down. And like there's this weird, crazy fire beast snake thing off of a cliff on the side of the road. It catches me. I die again. This thing, like, I don't know, it like threw me into the flames or something. And then it reboots one last time. This is where it's completely different.
Now, right?
What's that?
This is
Dream Reboot 4 Life 2. I swear to God, I'm like playing a first-person shooter here, and I die and I reboot. It was that weird. I couldn't believe. I've never reset myself in a dream before, and I've never died in a dream before. So this was a vivid experience on a very deep personal level. Now the last one, this is where it gets good. I see all these ships again, and it's like the invasion's starting. I see a couple of the ships, but then all of a sudden, I just see coming out after them, like every possible like ship that I've known from my childhood. Like I saw the Starship Enterprise, I saw the Millennium Falcon, I saw all, like, just imagine a fleet of science fiction awesome coming out. They defeat the bad guy aliens, the Black Ops Bluebeam and the reptilians. They destroy them all, and it's basically, that's a disclosure. So disclosure happens in my dream, and all these ships land, and basically they give people a choice after they land. It's just like, you can have, if you want to, you can get on one of these ships, go out and have an adventure in the galaxy somewhere. So I jumped for, like, I don't know how I knew it was a Romulan shuttle, before, you know, and I don't like Star Trek that much, and I'm geeky enough to think it was a Romulan shuttle. So I get in this weird Star Trek Romulan shuttle. I get in the shuttle, and I did it. I rushed it without thinking. Otherwise, I probably would have gotten in the Millennium Falcon because I'm a Star Wars freak.
Hell yeah.
So I get in this shuttle, and, you know, I'm like, but the reason why I jumped, it was like, okay, I've died 3 times in this dream already, or 2 times, or whatever. I'm just not sticking around in case something bad happens. So I just jumped in the first ship that was nearest to me. I get in this ship, and, you know, I see a bunch of guys, a bunch of, you know, aliens or Romulans or whatever. I look at the front of the ship, and Jean-Luc Picard is piloting the shuttle.
Nice.
And then the weird thing is that 2 minutes later I turn around, but that's Jean-Luc Picard. It's Jean-Luc Picard. But then I look back and I see Patrick Stewart, the actor, not the character, not Jean-Luc Picard, but, you know, but it's him. It's exactly him. It's like a clone, except he's not in a Starfleet uniform. He gets on the ship. He's like, "Oh my God, there are 2 Patrick Stewarts. What the hell is going on?" And it was about that time.
But don't clone Patrick Stewart.
Hey, everybody should have Patrick Stewart.
Come on.
Shakespeareanly trained. But it was about that time that I woke up. So it ended on this really positive note.
So killing won't wake you up, but the 2 Patrick Stewarts is enough to launch you back into
I guess it blew my mind. Either that or the alarm clock went off. I don't remember.
Well, right.
How about you just weren't ready to wake up? It wasn't time. You weren't ready. It wasn't the outcome that your mind, your spirit needed to be settled to come out of that dream or that experience.
Well, I definitely believe that, because I believe in the theory of reincarnation, where you come back because you didn't go through ascension in this life, and thus you need to do it again. And that's why you have your rebirth. Your soul is put into a new body, so on and so forth. I'm sure I was a Viking in a past life, because I have a fascination with Vikings. So
that's actually. I want to ask Canada a question. Do you have a fascination with any time period, or a particular culture?
I love medieval culture. The whole idea of knights and eating with your hands, and just living off of the land. Not even living in as royalty, but living off the land. That culture, as well as I suppose. Early modern culture, but mainly medieval, I guess I've always been specifically attracted to, more so than anything else.
And for me, it's been the Lakota culture and Lakota people. Somebody, I think, has their radio up loud. There's kind of an echo. Anyway,
you're starting to echo a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. Somebody's got their radio up too loud.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like it's better. Okay, but my patriot brother, I want to give you my analysis and my take on your dream.
All right.
Absolutely. This is what I'm thinking. And this is just the way it hit me. But what if the purpose of the dream, I mean the entire dream, the dream as a whole, with all the different resets, which you said has never occurred in a dream before. You haven't reset in a dream. You haven't died like that in a dream, especially not repeatedly. So this is definitely a unique dream, and it's a vivid dream, so that means that it's probably significant and a communication from your higher self. So what if the communication intended is for you to realize that all of these are possibilities, and all these possibilities are simultaneous, and you can choose by focusing which of these possibilities you get to experience, and that life is really that way.
That is how I want to interpret the dream, and it's so open to interpretation because it's who else is to say but me? I'm the only person that could have experienced it, so. I would agree with you there, because that's kind of the route I was taking with it, because when I have that kind of experience, I go with that assumption because it's already kind of built into a belief system that I've really put a lot of thought about, as I think most of us have now as we've gone through this truth movement, this new revelations about spirituality, which is probably much more accurate than any other religion has had the ability to express to humanity. That's how I personally feel about it.
Well, and speaking about Americans' religion, this out this week, 20%, 1 in 5, no longer follows a religion. And 1 in 3 under 30, a third of Americans under 30 don't follow a religion. That is significant. The fact that the young, especially the young, are turning away from religion. Now, they're finding this in all income groups, but this is interesting, and this might not play too well on you, Mr. Travesty, but 68% of people who are claiming in this poll, and this is, I think it was a Gallup poll, a pretty significant poll, one done by the professionals, but 68% of them lean toward a single political party. And I'll give you a hint. It's not the GOP.
Of course not.
In fact, it's the Democratic Party. 68% of these people who aren't affiliated with a religion anymore are leaning Democrat. And I'm no Democrat. And I want to get that. I want to say right off top, I don't want to feed any two-party system, and I am a complete independent. But this is significant because not only do 68% of them lean Democrat, but in fact, that number makes up 24% of all Democrats, which makes them the largest faith constituency of the party. As in, more people don't follow religion than any other religious group. The next biggest group is black Protestants. 16% of Democrats are black Protestants, but 24% of Democrats don't have a religion at all. And then after the black Protestants, you've got the white Protestants, 14%. Sociologists think that the reason this has happened is because the religious right has driven people to it. They've gone so batshit on the right that people are like, no, I am. And, I can personally attest to being repulsed by evangelical Christianity, and I have a history. I grew up evangelical, and
I used to be like that too. A long time ago, I spent a lot of time as part of an Assembly of God church. I've been to things like the Creation Fest in Pennsylvania. I used to do a little bit of the street preaching or whatever, and it was quite a different thing. But I had a different clique, and somehow I knew that I was not like the other Christians in the group, and maybe it's because I was more honest with myself than others. It's a long, complicated story.
Dude, I know exactly how you feel. Totally know what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
But go on.
No, it's
keep going.
Well, and these people, it's not that they don't believe in God. It's basically that they don't believe in a particular faith. In particular, they don't believe in hell. Many of these people pray. They believe in God. They have regular spiritual routines. They're just not affiliated with a religion. I choose
we believe in. Okay, whose turn?
No, I was just saying. I think this is people waking up. What were you saying?
Me? Well, I was saying that it's not that they don't believe in a God or heaven and hell. They may believe in a higher being in both sense, maybe good or evil. But it's a basic fact that when they do have the freedom to open their mind, and finally, critically think and actively search into these ideas, these different religions, you start finding patterns and similarities, and you start saying, well, this is all essentially the same idea, the same notions are presented within all of these articles. So why can't they all be correct? And in that sense, how we define or what we define as God, why does it have to be this one defining thing? Why can't it be a mixture of all?
I think it gets back to just the sense of, if we want to talk about the idea of heaven and hell, we're really talking about the reward and punishment system of faith.
Correct.
And,
that's duality-based. It's black and white, either or.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like when you reach the finish line, did you take the path down or the path up is what they have at it. I've heard certain people have certain theories which could very well be true, where either way, whether you take a positive or a negative path, it is not the end. Like if you this whole idea that there's the lower vibrational frequencies and the higher vibrational frequencies. The lower vibrational frequency is what you would associate as the hell equivalent. But unlike how it's preached in religion, where it's this life to get it right and that's it, you have the idea of you either fail, you go to the lower vibrational frequency, you wait your turn to come back into the system to try to get it right, because the point is to try to move up, but we're all here to experience something in the game of life that we're all playing. And then if you go up, you go up for a second, you kind of reflect on what you did, and then you move up to another level, because we're always talking about how, there's a fourth dimension, a fifth dimension, a sixth dimension, et cetera, and I think that's what that is, and we're just rocking out in the third dimension right now, where everything's physical and we base everything on Descartesian five senses.
Well, and I would say that what you are describing, based on my own personal belief system, would be that you're describing the spectrum of the fourth dimension. the one just beyond this one, where we actually live half our time anyway, and that's where you are. That's where you were, I believe, while you were having your dream. And there is a spectrum, the lower vibrations being like the lower levels of the astral, and the higher vibrations being, and it's a spectrum. It's not like necessarily a set of distinct levels, although there may be faint borders. From my understanding, it's basically a spectrum. You know, the beginning of the fourth dimension up through the end, and it's the astral level. And what we're moving into is from this third dimension, and intertwined, interlaced like a television screen with the fourth, into the fifth dimension, and a fourth density. We're actually rising up a density, because I think people get densities and dimensions. Right. They're different things. Right. Yeah, I mean, but you know what? This conversation about your dream really, it sparked. It kind of leads and segues into a couple of things that I'd planned on talking tonight. So you've got me jumping around my rundown. Talking about reincarnation, like you were in your dream, reminded me that I wanted to talk about this new movie coming out called just Cloud Atlas. Have you guys heard of Cloud Atlas? Oh, yes. Okay. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it's coming out on the 26th, and in hell or high water, I'm going to be in that theater that night. My only concern with that movie is, looking at the trailer finally, is that it's jumping around so many different settings. I'm worried that it's going to be overbearing, and it might confuse people too much. It's good to be complicated and deep, and I love the Wachowski brothers. I don't care what anybody says. I think the second and third Matrix movies were awesome. I don't care what anybody says, and there are certain people that just want to hang me out to dry for saying that, but I will have the argument with them if they really want to. And then don't even get me started on V for Vendetta, which has inspired so many things in our real revolution happening now. Well, that's true. But those subsequent Matrix movies really did flesh out the spiritual theory a little more, getting to see the Oracle again, and seeing Neo's new abilities and what he's able to do when he believes, and then seeing how, Smith is able to interact with the real world. And you know what I was thinking when you were talking about David Wilcock's Stop Fighting the Illuminati? That is actually exactly how they end the Matrix. What does Neo do to win? He gives up. He's already connected to Source, and he allowed Source to solve the problem. But he gave in. He became part of the collective, but it was a part of the collective that was intricately connected to God. Deus Ex Machina. And that's how that's how Neo ends the war. That's a wonderful insight. And whether or not people consciously get that, the analogy is there for them to understand. The parable is set before them. And that is why I still say the second and third movies were great movies. And necessary to the story arc. Yeah. And have you ever watched the Animatrix, the short films? I've not. Yeah. Watch the Animatrix. They get into some way, way deeper stuff. In fact, the guy who was famous for creating Akira, the anime, he did two of them as a two-parter, which is the origin story of the rise of the machines, and it runs like you're reading the Bible. It's based primarily on narration. It's the Zion mainframe is the narrator, and it's done like documentary style, and it just shows all of this persecution of the machines. It shows how they were the slave race, and how mankind just wasn't having the slave race be free. It's very much a mishmash of like Genesis and Exodus and Revelation, and it's nuts. There's another one where they have like a machine, and they try to put the machine into a matrix that the humans created, just to try to ask the machine to sympathize with the human condition, etc. Awesome stuff in the Animatrix. Spend some time and watch all of them. They're directly tied into the movie. They're all okayed by the Wachowski brothers as canon. It's great. Okay, we'll check that out.
Sweet deal.
And,
Movie night, Tim.
What was that?
Movie night.
Movie night, yeah, exactly. We'll do that right after we watch Cloud Atlas. And in talking about Cloud Atlas, I understand your concerns are pretty founded about people being able to get confused because there are so many jumping around
people.
But I've bought the book, and I don't think I'm concerned about that being the case any longer. The book is actually written as a palindrome, in that the chapters start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The names of the chapters go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gets to a sixth chapter, and then goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Not in numbers, but in the chapter names, and it ends where it begins. And it's basically all these lives are intertwined. What you become to realize is these are the same people living different lives. And that is why this movie is going to be so significant. And I highly recommend people go check out the trailer with that in mind, because you'll see Tom Hanks playing 6 characters in this movie. Halle Berry is probably playing 6 too, for all I know. They're not the only ones in it. They got Hugo Weaving from The Matrix. And every line they put in, everything they show you, and every line they put in that extended trailer that we've got at the top of the Facebook page, facebook.com/extraordinary year. Towards the top there, we've got the trailer for Cloud Atlas. Go check it out. It's the full-length one. It's all important, and it will blow your freaking mind. And I'm in like the 4th or 5th story so far of the book, and I'm just I don't read fiction, guys. I stopped reading fiction a long ass time ago, and I was moved by this trailer to actually buy a work of fiction, and I'm engrossed, and I'm reading it, and it's awesome. So I think it's going to shape how our collective views reality and views time and multiple lives and reincarnation. It's not going to be the same formula as The Matrix. It's just coming from the same intent and same creativity, I guess, as The Matrix, because it's those guys. So I know I'm looking forward to it. And the other thing that our discussion reminded me of, I want to get to it. You talked about being, feeling an affinity. Like in Canada, you said that you're all about the medieval times. Well, for me, I've always, felt a connection with the Lakota, with horses, in particular, and not just Plains Indians, but the Lakota in particular. And I happen to have been born and lived my first 5 years on the North
There's
Dakota.
A strange background noise. It's kind of like swelling over your voice in a couple places. It's a little distracting, whatever that is.
How are we doing now?
Hopefully better.
Okay. Well, anyway, in the news, Russell Means, who you guys might remember as the last of the Mohicans in the movie, the guy who's actually the last of the Mohicans, well, he's this Lakota activist from the 70s named Russell Means. And he's come out this week with a delegation of Lakota elders and delivered a message to the United States State Department saying that they're no longer citizens of the United States. They're pulling out of all their treaties. They're inviting people who live in their country to stay in this country, and I'm talking about parts of the states of Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, and Wyoming. They're claiming for themselves. They're going to issue their own passports and driving licenses and say that living there will be tax-free, provided residents renounce their U.S. citizenship. They're actually saying, they're telling the State Department they're pulling out of all the treaties because they're worthless, which is really true because of every last treaty that the United States government has struck with an Aboriginal tribe, a Native American tribe. Some provision of every last one has been broken. Every treaty, every last one has been broken by the United States. So, we broke them. They're worthless. So the Lakota are saying we're pulling out.
Then we're keeping what land we have left.
Well, we're saying we're claiming the land that was ours. We're basically saying
Right.
South Dakota, North Dakota, not the United States anymore.
Oh, all of it?
Yes. Well, I mean, that's Lakota land. All of North Dakota, all of South Dakota, a lot of Nebraska. I know some of Nebraska's Pawnee land, but into Wyoming and Montana, and I guess really before the United States came along, they were up into Canada too. They didn't say anything about that. But, if they're going to stand on this and make moves, basically say manifest destiny is bullshit and, this is our country, not yours. Eventually
Right.
the United States, the government's going to have to fight back. They're going to have to do something. They can't just stand there. And
Sure,
it's going to
but
be
what
like,
are they going to do?
they can do what they did in the 70s, because this shit went down in the 70s. And Russell fought them then, too. And the FBI tried to put him in prison by having this, this girl testify against Russell. The same girl that they used to indict and convict Leonard Peltier, who's still...
Yeah, but you got to think, with mass communication these days compared to the 70s, shit like that, I mean, you got to work really hard to make that disappear and make that not known.
It was well known then. It's just that the public's view was against the Native Americans because Russell and his dad and all these AIM people, the American Indian Movement, it was a big thing in the 70s. They took the Bureau of Indian Affairs in D.C., they took the building. They laid siege to it. They laid siege to Wounded Knee and actually had the military surrounded Wounded Knee like Waco. And there were firefights, like gunfights. I read Russell's autobiography some years ago, and I highly recommend it for activists and actually for spiritualists, because there's some spiritual aspects to his story, especially with the Wounded Knee thing. They actually would wear... do you guys ever hear of the ghost dance, which is what the Lakota...
Yeah, totally.
They weren't allowed to do the ghost dance, and they did it anyway, and they would wear these red shirts and go into battle and believe that these red shirts would protect them from bullets. And as we know about the holographic universe and faith, stuff tends to happen if you believe it strongly enough. Well, it worked in the 70s at Wounded Knee. And according to Russell, the FBI would shoot people up and, they'd have holes in their shirts and not be hurt. So
anyway. I saw a documentary on that on TV, and I had never heard of that uprising before, and it was fascinating. I watched most of it, and the thing that I thought was quite inspiring about it was there was a point where there was a lot of the people that were like the local people, like Americans that were there, white people, and the government was concerned because it looked like they had kidnapped them. And then after like, I don't know, a couple days, and they were finally able to talk to some of them, they found out they weren't kidnapped, they were helping them. They fell on the sympathy for them, and the media had been characterizing it as a kidnapping.
Yeah,
and then that
white people would filter in during the night after dark, when they had cover of darkness. Would come in like the back way and then just be there the next morning. All of a sudden there'd be a bunch of hippies. Yeah.
The documentary didn't show nothing about the hippies. It actually just showed more like regular kind of townsy folk.
Well, yeah, I mean peacenik types. But yeah, there were some hippies. At least
I'm sure there were. The hippies were, their culture had a lot to do with Native American identification.
So we got about 5 minutes left. I have some other stuff that I wanted to talk about tonight. I'm just going to burn through it and get some quick takes from you guys on it. Adult stem cells. This week, a couple of scientists got the Nobel Prize because they've been able to take adult tissue and revert it to stem cells. In other words, this circumvents the entire embryonic debate. Because the reason we
no
can't...
more abortion debate, nice.
because we don't need to mess with embryos and take embryonic stem cells to get stem cells to do stem cell research and do medicine with stem cells. we can actually just take adult tissue and literally reverse the aging in adult tissue. This is real. And
that's fantastic. That's fantastic news.
They're called induced pluripotency stem cells, or IPS cells. And one of the cool things about this is they can use the patient's own tissue, which makes, less chance for rejection. So what kind of amazing science do we have on the horizon? Really think about the implications.
Yeah, it sounds like we're on the cusp of not necessarily immortality, but at the very least,
eliminating disease.
You could be 90 years old and look like you're 30.
Right, age much slower.
Yeah.
Or better yet, repair, bodily necessities that have been damaged. Couldn't they, technically, in theory, you take a stem cell, missing part of your lung, stick some stem cells in there, a new lung will appear.
Yeah. Or if you're Eric Cartman, you can build a whole fast food restaurant.
Excellent. Yes.
Great
ideas here.
You just punch it in and he gives it to me.
Exactly.
But no, I want a replicator.
Wow.
Sorry to debase the program with Cartman.
That is excellent news. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, isn't that cool? But also good news, in my estimation anyway. I found out today there's a new biggest of its kind ever search for Sasquatch. I get these Bigfoot alerts, but this is a high-tech one. They're calling it the Falcon Project, and what they want to do is do an aerial search using a 45-foot unmanned blimp, read quiet, using thermal imaging and video capture on a platform, and basically run this blimp unmanned, in places where they think they'll find Bigfoot, and it's set with FLIR technology that the cops use to find people, assuming that Sasquatch will have roughly same, type of heat signature. They're going to, probably run up and down the Pacific Northwest with this blimp until they find it.
Have you heard have you heard this theory? They put it on it was on Ancient Aliens of all things. There was an episode about Sasquatch where they were talking about this theory that maybe the reason why Bigfoot is so elusive is that he is not some sort of super ape, but he's a wild man, and this wild man has the ability to he possibly does not have a taint on his mind's ability to transcend dimensions, and what he does is that he has the ability to blink in and out of the third dimension, and that's why he's elusive, because he's got he's spiritually more advanced than we are.
Well, and Ra has, for those who've read the Law of One or who follow the Law of One series, Ra does touch on the Bigfoot and talk about their dimensionality. For listeners who are listening live, we've got about 30 seconds left in the show. After that, the audio is going to cut out. I am going to continue this conversation and cover a few other points, and you will be able to hear that on the YouTube. Go to facebook.com/extraordinaryyear tomorrow morning, and I will post the YouTube version of this episode. So to listeners, live listeners, thanks for listening in tonight. We'll catch you on the flip side. Now, time for overtime, guys. Moving on from Bigfoot, I want to talk about nuclear energy, fracking, radioactivity, and moving the Earth past the use of nuclear fission for anything, and radioactive anything. So in the news this week, found along a Texas highway was a device of Americanium-241 beryllium near Pecos, Texas, which Halliburton lost. It's a radioactive thing that they lost in a ditch in Texas. that was just sitting. Yeah, this thing was found. It's a Category 3 type of radiation, which, according to our own government, says, if not safely managed or securely protected, could cause permanent injury to a person who handled them or were otherwise in contact with them for some hours. It could possibly, although unlikely, be fatal to be close to this amount of unshielded radioactive material for a period of days to weeks.
So what happened to the people who found it?
Well, the guy who found it knew what he was looking for. He was out there looking for it, and when he found it, he got the hell away and called somebody.
Well, why did he know? Like,
because they knew it was missing,
and they didn't. They knew it was sure. They knew it was. Like, I'm just saying. Like, usually when Halliburton does something, they don't want anybody to know about it.
Right. How did this get to the media? Is the question.
Well, the question is, why isn't it bigger?
The story or the uranium?
The story. Why isn't the story bigger? I mean, you guys know about it because I just told you, but.
Right.
Dude, because pop culture has gotten our society so hypnotized that the big picture isn't even in the frame of reference anymore.
Yeah. You know, people are more concerned with the day-to-day politics of the NFL, you know, while watching ESPN. Like, I was watching ESPN the other day because I work at a bowling alley, so they play the sports channel a lot. And I'm just sitting there just like, they do all of this in-depth, transparent, like, it's just like, if they covered, like, if C-SPAN covered the government the way ESPN covers the NFL,
shit.
Probably would not have any corruption going on.
No shit.
You know, they ask all the right questions about people using steroids and who's sending money where and how strategies really affect things. And I'm just like, this is so sad how much, you know, money and professionalism and everything else is put into this. I'm not knocking sports, although I don't care for it myself, but dear God, it's just like, you know, what happened to the days when, when the media wasn't controlled by the FCC. I blame the FCC.
Well, the media is controlled by 5 companies, and those same 5 companies are controlled by bigger companies that control the government and therefore the FCC.
Right.
It's all a big game.
My Beer channel is owned by Bain Capital, so you know, of course, the TV is going to be biased towards Mitt Romney.
We got an echo again.
Here we have a situation where we know this has happened. We know Halliburton's at fault, but of course, nobody's going to jail. You know, they're not finding any criminal activity. No, there's no accountability.
What, did they hit a bump and it fell off the truck?
I don't know how it got there. It wasn't covered. I assume that, you know, they knew it was missing and they were looking for it. And this guy from, like, some Middle Eastern oil company found it. And, hello, Halliburton, I found your stick of death.
Yeah, right.
And I guess it is in the public attention to a degree, at least, and I like that because it brings the danger of nuclear radiation. And this thing was used for locating shale gas. This piece of I don't know how they do it, but this piece of radioactive material is used to find natural gas underground, and then they go and frack it. And so that's this piece of radioactive material was used in fracking, and then was lost along a highway in Texas for, you know, drivers to drive through this cloud of stuff that you don't want to drive through. And you know, at least it brings some attention, a modicum of attention to nuclear radiation and fracking. And you know, we need that in America, less than we need it in Japan and Europe, who are getting together to in Kyoto Sunday to talk about a nuclear-free future. After the tsunami and the meltdown at the nuclear plant and all the radiation that we're getting from Fukushima, they're ready to call quits on nuclear. And so, you know, this story actually spread across the media pretty quickly the other day. I started that paper, the New Energy Report, and I have certain keywords that populated. And for whatever reason, it was nuclear-free energy future, and so it had free energy. And so I was getting all these stories about Japan, going nuclear-free, and it kind of spread across the media. And so you go to the stories, and it's just repostings of the same general story. No solution to instead of nuclear energy, what are they going to do? That's not in the story. All they're doing is saying, they're going to get together and talk about how to move beyond nuclear energy, which I guess in itself is good.
Yeah,
we're talking about it. That's good.
There's like one nuclear reactor where I live, which is in Connecticut, and I'm within the fallout zone of a meltdown. And we also have a nuclear submarine base, Groton, in Connecticut. So that's also something to worry about.
And then there's the rotten apple right by you too.
Yep.
No, I love New York. I kid.
New York sucks, man.
But speaking about the NFL,
I mean, I love New York as culturally, but oh my God, the policies that is New York suck.
Yeah. Well, but they also gave us Occupy Wall Street, so.
Yes, they did.
It's yin and it's yang.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, guys? That's pretty much it. Anything else that I wanted to talk about tonight, it's pretty inconsequential stuff. It was kind of if we get to it type of thing. So, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight.
Yeah, no worries. It was fun, as always.
Absolutely.
I love being able to talk about what's going on in this world with real people and have a discussion because, I've got stuff to add to the discussion, but you guys have both, whenever you guys call in, you have really good points and you have really good perspectives and other ways of, other points of view, other ways of looking at a situation. And so I think that it's important for us to get together and talk about this stuff. And I love these freaking episodes. So
yeah, we appreciate the platform to speak our minds.
Definitely.
Would it be okay if I plugged my YouTube account?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. I have a YouTube blog that I do. I have about, 18, 19 episodes or something right now. And the last one I did is about those UFOs in the clouds for anybody who was interested in me when I mentioned it. And it's The Hated Patriot 1776 is the name. You go up there and it's just me chatting with my bearded dragon.
Does the bearded dragon have a name? I know I've seen the lizard before.
Ah, yes. My girl, her name's Sonia.
Sonia. You don't do weird things with your girl, do you?
No.
Actually, don't answer that question.
Oh, wow.
It's a cloaking.
I use her to kind of say, like, reptilians, I'm in control.
There you go.
That's the subtle
Indeed.
subtext.
Planet of the Apes with reptiles? Think about that. Think about that. Maybe Planet of the Apes was exactly that, except they used apes instead of reptiles.
Jurassic Park in reverse.
Yeah, that's possible.
Or something.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, next week, guys, we do have a panel with the folks from Enlight Radio, and that should be interesting. I know that they've got big stuff. They've got a big conference coming up that they're doing that should prove to be, and things are changing. You never know what's going to happen in a week. What we'll be able to talk about in a week, and what those guys will have to share in that discussion should be pretty interesting. So, light workers are probably pretty aware of Enlight Radio. Anybody who follows the 2012scenario.com knows about Enlight Radio. So, looking forward to that. I'm going to head out. Everybody, go check out facebook.com/extraordinaryyear. Everything we talk about gets posted on that page, so you can find out what the hell it is we're talking about too. Go like us, spread the word. Follow me at Twitter at Tim Bravo. David Canada is at Tainted Drums. And that is going to be it for us on the 72nd day before December 21st, 2012. Keep your ear to the ground. Hold on tight, kids. Remember,
do not be afraid.
It's going to be an extraordinary year. Namaste. Peace is on the way. Namaste.